And this morning, Apple announced that it will add 20,000 new jobs across the country over the next 5 years as part of a $430 billion investment aimed at growing its business and helping the country recover from this pandemic. The move prompting this big question: is a college degree still the best way to train people for these and other jobs of the future? Well, a growing number of companies and their CEOs are saying no. 30-year-old Ali Alcala has it all: an apartment in New York City, a thriving career in HR at JP Morgan Chase, and more than $70,000 a year in income. What she doesn't have is a college degree. Did you assume that investment banks were only for college grads, even Ivy League school grads?
I had no notion that you would be able to even get a foot in the door without a degree.
The Global Bank is actively recruiting people without college degrees through programs that pay them to train in careers like operations and consumer banking.
I didn't have a degree. My future was extremely uncertain. And the program kind of provided a clear way where I would be able to pursue a career path or journey.
I only went to college because my parents made me go to college.
Mark Benioff is the founder and CEO of Salesforce.
Everybody thinks that if you don't have a college degree, you can't be successful in the United States, and it's not true.
The average cost of a 4-year degree has risen to more than $10,000 a year for a public university and $37,000 for private, and more than half graduate with an average of $29,000 in student debt. Then is college even worth it? It's expensive.
You can create incredible value for the world without a college degree.
I came to this country with a lot of aspirations.
After immigrating from Colombia, Juan Medina worked several jobs, including construction and car sales. College was out of the question.
If I went part-time, it was going to take me like 8 years to finish college and possibly some debt.
A much better alternative for Juan and his growing family: free online training with Salesforce that led not only to a job.
Now I feel like I have a career. There are a lot of opportunities out there.
More major corporations are abandoning the requirement of a 4-year degree. At Apple, half of their employees don't have college degrees. But this path is untested. Many jobs still require a bachelor's degree. And on average, a college graduate makes 67% more than a high school graduate. But as the cost of college rises, some say the returns aren't keeping pace. The idea that to make a lot of money, you need to go to college, that's a thing of the past?
To make a lot of money, you just need to get the skills. You don't need to go to college. You can do it all online.
Ali Alcala sees only one reason why she'd pursue a diploma now.
Just to have it framed.
Joining us now to discuss, Lisa Gevelber, Vice President of Grow with Google, a program that trains and matches applicants to a job without requiring any college degree, and Sean Gallagher, Executive Director of the Center for Future of Higher Education at Northeastern University. I want to welcome you both. Lisa, to you first. Google is among a number of companies that are creating their own training programs. Help us understand, who is this aimed at and what kind of jobs are the participants landing after?
Sure. Well, at Google, we're just trying to make sure that we're creating a more equitable and inclusive job market. And we're doing that by making sure that anyone, regardless of their educational background or work experience, can get into one of these in-demand, high-growth, high-paying job fields. So we teach people all the skills they need to know to get an entry-level job in IT support or data analytics, user experience design, and even project management.
Sean, there's a stigma around not going to college. Conventional wisdom, especially for parents, kids who go to college can succeed. If they don't, they won't. Is that starting to shift, especially as you look at sort of the jobs of the future?
It is, yeah, and that's something we've been researching for a number of years. This was a trend before the pandemic, and especially since, with the availability of all these new types of online credentials and how affordable these alternatives to degrees have become, it's something that's booming. By many measures, it's up about 70 or 80% in the last year. And companies have been shifting their hiring practices. Google is an example, Apple, IBM, and many others. They've found that they need to go to alternative pools of talent and look beyond simply relying on a college degree. Something people would be shocked by is how not rigorous the process of setting a qualification for a job is. And that's starting to change based on technology and based on the changes we see in the economy.
So, Lisa, companies like Google or Salesforce, or what we just announced, Apple, with 20,000 jobs over the next 5 years, how essential is it to create programs like this to finally address the skills gap? Because even before the pandemic, we had people in this country that were struggling. Minimum wage is not enough to support adults in this country, but none of the jobs we're talking about are minimum wage jobs. Will this finally address that skills gap and give Americans the skills they need for those higher paid jobs?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. As you're saying, Stephanie, 80 million American workers, that's 2/3 of American workers, do not have a college degree. And until now, they really felt locked out of good jobs. We absolutely need to change that. And I think programs like this are a really important step because they teach you everything you need to know to be job ready in these fields. But more importantly, what we're doing at Google is working with the entire ecosystem. So we're partnering with other employers. We have 150 employers who have signed on to hire graduates from our certificate program. But we're also working with educational institutions like Northeastern, like 100 community colleges around the country, and with workforce development boards. As you say, there's 10 million Americans unemployed at this very moment. And so we're working closely with the workforce development boards around the country to make sure that the folks who are currently unemployed have access to training like this to get into these high-paying and also high-growth career fields. On average, the fields that we teach pay an entry-level salary of $69,000 a year or more. And there's 1.3 million jobs in these 4 career fields open right now in the U.S. There just aren't enough people trained for them.
Sean, when we think about new jobs, we immediately default to young people. But do programs like this start to address ageism for people who are older, who are in the workforce and want better jobs or trying to get back in? They don't necessarily have the technology skills. These technologies didn't exist when they went to school. How much does things like this help them?
Right. Well, that's one of the opportunities here is these programs, because they're online and because they're affordable, tend to mean that you don't have to stop out of your job to go off and earn a degree. You can do something that might take you just a few weeks and with a very minimal investment in many cases. And I'd also point out you can often take these credits from these types of programs and stack them into a later degree, whether it's completing your bachelor's or getting a master's degree. So it really takes a whole ecosystem and a lot of cultural change that's happening within companies in terms of how they hire and kind of building the infrastructure for this new type of digital learning.
Lisa, I know we're out of time, but I have to ask, should high schools, guidance counselors, parents start thinking about programs like this? Obviously, if you've got a kid going to an Ivy League school, they're not turning down Harvard for this. But we know all sorts of kids might need a gap year. They're looking at community college. And oftentimes, kids who aren't ready are spending a lot of money in college that gets them nowhere except in more debt.
For sure. And actually, this year we've announced that we're bringing these career certificates directly to career and technical high schools all over the country. But absolutely, we want high school counselors telling people about these programs because they're a great on-ramp into high-paying, high-growth careers for anyone.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.